Today on the Human Algorithm podcast, I'm sitting down with someone who proves that honesty, when done right, can become a business model. She's a content creator, performer, and founder of Angmo Media, a creator-first consultancy that's helping influencers grow with confidence, negotiate better. We will get into that later, or the T, and finally treat their creativity like a career, not a side hustle. With nearly 100,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram, Daisy Ann Mitchell is one of the most refreshing voices in Singapore's creator economy or creator scene. She's funny, unfiltered, and we'll talk about the Halloween costume later.
Okay.
And also brutally honest about money, mental health, and what it really takes to turn $17 into a six-figure business. Why $17? You will find out later. So Daisy, welcome to the Human Algorithm podcast.
Thank you. That's like the best introduction anyone has ever given. And I didn't send anything over to Sean before this either.
You're all over Google. Like, I just type your name and you're over Google.
Oh God, that's something I need to actually look into and make sure all the good things are out there and not the questionable stuff. Thanks for having me.
I haven't found any questionable stuff.
Okay,
I will
good.
ask you about it.
Yeah, you can. I'm apparently very honest and transparent. This is where you're going to find out all the tea.
So maybe let's start from the beginning, right?
Okay.
What is something that people don't know about you when they look at your feed? Something that's not created or you never posted before?
I know that everyone that comes on your podcast has issues answering this question, and me too. This is the one where I was like, what do I say?
Yeah.
I think it's interesting when you're a content creator, and especially if you're multi-hyphenated, like a lot of the people in our industry are. You feel like you share a lot and you feel like you share everything, but what people remember you for can often be surprising. So a lot of people might know me as like that Angmo that speaks English or the girl that shares her monthly income online. Some people might know me for like my theater work, which I do post online. But I guess something I've never posted about or never talked about is probably my family or maybe my romantic relationships. Like I talk about dating. I talk about dating a lot, but now I'm dating someone.
Aww.
So I don't talk about that though. So I'm like, some things you just gotta keep for yourself. Like you don't gotta be that nosy, okay? Gotta leave some stuff to the imagination. Yeah. That's a hard question to answer because I feel like I share everything, but then people might not know.
Yeah, I remember your passport as well. You shared that.
Yeah. I was just so frustrated. I'm British. I know the accent might not be able to give it away, but I am British. And the British embassy in Singapore does not renew your passport. So you have to send it back every time. And they be living in the 1800s.
Her Majesty's service.
His Majesty.
Oh yes, getting her pronouns wrong.
She did. Anyway. Yeah, I guess I just like to share what happens to me in real time. I think I have a big personality, and ever since I was young, like when I went to high school, everyone was like, you should start a YouTube channel, because YouTube was like the only thing back then, right? And I was like, no, I don't want to. I never did. But then COVID happened, and then all my theater gigs got canceled. So how to be creative, pick up my phone, post online, and then the rest is history. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Never thought that this would be my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have really embraced that whole Angmo personality.
Yeah.
Right? But it's actually a derogatory word. It's like like some of my Caucasian friends I actually get offended when someone calls it Angmo, but you don't feel that at all?
No, I think because I grew up in Singapore, it has kind of just been like a descriptive term that people use. Also, it's just like, Angmo, okay, whatever. I really leaned into it because all the news headlines were giving this name to me.
Yeah.
Like I didn't choose to be called this like Angmo Singaporean or this like Angmo who speaks English. That's what they branded me as. So I tried to embrace it as much as possible. And that was kind of my first experience in building an online brand and an online association. So that was kind of like, what people, and even to this day, even though I don't call myself that online, I haven't for many years, people still stop me on the street and they're like, hey, you're the Hamo that speaks English, right? Or that's how people reference me. Like, you might not know my name is Daisy Ann, but you'll know me as this like white girl that speaks English. So that's something I've come to embrace and love because it's definitely very much a part of who I am. I do code switch, and that's, you know, my identity is something that I talk about a lot online. And I think it's just, you know, if these opportunities are literally being handed to you, like run with it, do what you can with it, see what happens. I was able to quit full-time work and start posting videos. Like, what the hell? Like, just because I could speak English. Like, that's crazy. That's kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. Talking about Singlish, to able to speak English, you must be able to, like, you know, live here, converse with local people.
Yeah.
What is it like growing up in Singapore for you compared to where you were born?
What a great question. And people ask me all the time, you know, which do you prefer, Singapore or the UK? I'm like, I don't remember the UK, guys. So my story is my family wanted to get as far away from the UK as possible. So we were looking in Asia on where to move, and Singapore ended up being the one. So my dad found a job here. We migrated. I started in an international school, as most people do when they first move over. And then my parents very quickly realized that we were going to stay here for a long time, and international school is very expensive. And they didn't necessarily want us to be raised in this like expatriate bubble. My parents were huge travelers when they were growing up. So, you know, experiencing different cultures and meeting different people is very natural to them. So me and my brothers were put into local school quite early on. I think maybe primary 3 for me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was then surrounded by Singaporeans, surrounded by every like local culture. We were in the East before the East became gentrified. Sorry about that. We were the first. No. So, and when you're a kid, you're a sponge. I mean, you will know you have a 3-year-old. Like, you just absorb everything around you, and you don't know what you're absorbing or what you're learning until you look back.
Yeah.
So in looking back, I'm able to see that like being raised in this kind of like Western household versus being schooled in a local education I've kind of been able to like bridge both of these minds, and now I have my own. And this is like quite common for third culture kids, which is what I am. You know, you're raised in a country that your parents are not from. So you have your parents' culture, but then you have this third culture, and that becomes you. So I'm this like amalgamation of everyone and everything that's raised me. And it's very fascinating to meet other people that are third culture kids too, because I think it's the future of humanity. I mean, everyone's traveling, you know, interracial marriages, immigrants, you know, that's kind of where we're heading. It's very interesting to me that people still push against it. You know, I had a friend the other day, she's just had a baby, and, you know, her husband is brown and she's Chinese. So their baby is this beautiful brown. And this random stranger came up to her. Oh, yeah.
I see where this is going.
Why your baby skin color like that? Why do you give up? Can I swear?
Yeah.
Why do you give a fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it definitely still blows my mind that this isn't really the norm yet. But hopefully it will be. Like blended families also.
Yeah.
You know?
And especially so because we are talking about COVID, right? Like there was this post-COVID, there was this couple that walked down Orchard Road. The guy is Indian, the girl is Chinese.
Yep.
And this lecturer came up to them and said they shouldn't be together.
Yep.
It's
crazy.
It's happening.
Also, like Singapore is branded as this like multicultural, like literally our government is like, we are a melting pot.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so yes, embrace it. I don't know. This could be a whole other podcast episode.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But as a third culture kid, did you ever felt out of place? Because you came to Singapore at quite a young age, right? And you know, growing up, I know kids can be nasty, kids can be mean. Did that ever happen to you? Like the bullying and all that?
You know, you don't know that you're different until somebody points it out to you. So when I went to local school, I went to this quite liberal neighborhood school where there were quite a few foreigners that had been accepted. But But before I went to that school, I actually went to a Catholic local school because I'm baptized Catholic, but my family don't practice. So that was my first experience being singled out for something, because it was a huge culture shock, not only because I was going into a local education system, but also because I was going into a religious one. And I was like, what is this? I don't know what's happening. And I was the only white person in that whole school. So everyone was just like, your freckles, you got cancer. Or anything I would do, if I would drink water in class, tell teacher. If I, we're kids, you want to like draw on your table, then erase it, right? They will tell the teacher, like all this stuff. I lasted 3 months in that school. My parents took me out pretty quick. But yeah, that was kind of a very early on, was then very aware that I was different. Not that I think I cared, but I definitely tried harder to fit in. So I definitely like leaned into being Singaporean more so because I knew I was different and I wanted to be accepted. So like speaking in Singlish constantly at school was like something I knew I had to do in order to be understood, in order to be accepted. And I had this huge identity crisis because at home I was speaking in a British accent. At school I was speaking in a Singaporean one. What happens when my friends come over to my house after school? My accent is suddenly like, my parents are like, what's going on with you? Do you hate being English? And then my friends are like, why do you sound like that? I'm just 8 years old. I don't know what's happening to me. So I definitely see now how like being aware of who I was in my surroundings, shaping who I am now. And I would not have it any other way, honestly. I hated it when it was happening, but now looking back, like the things I've learned, I like to think I'm very open-minded and I'm able to see and understand all perspectives and just be a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just able to like just sit and have a chat with anybody. There's no like prejudices or like, I wasn't really raised in this like bubble of one mindset and I'm like stuck in that mindset. I'm very much open to changing my mind or hearing other people's stories and opinions to like help shape my own. I think I have quite a strong moral compass because I was raised like that. But I didn't know that at the time. It's very wonderful to think about how that kind of all transpired. Yeah.
Did anybody help you through that process? Like
No.
Your teachers?
No.
So you had to do it all by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first time I ever heard the term third culture kid was when I was 21, which was like, it's a relatively new phrase. I've since done my research on it. Like it's only come up in like the past decade, 15 years. But it was one of my lecturers in college that was like, you're a third culture kid because she's raising one. She's Japanese. Her husband is from somewhere in Europe. Sorry, Akiko, if you're watching this. So their daughter is being raised in Singapore as this mixed baby. So she's a third culture kid. And the way they're raising her is very with that in mind. Whereas my parents didn't think about that when they moved over. It didn't occur to them that like my and my brother's like upbringing would be different. Yeah. So no one really helped me through it. But now I know if I have kids or when I teach kids or interact with children, that it's something I like to be aware of, especially in Singapore. Yeah. Because you don't know where people are from. You don't know if they're born here or what. I don't make those assumptions either. Yeah.
And as you grew up, and I was doing my research on you off social media, right? And I realized that you give a lot of interviews around finance. Yeah. And you're not a finance person.
I'm not.
But you give a lot of interviews around finance. And I think what was interesting for me was how you talk about, picking the cheapest thing on the menu when you grew up, watching your parents struggle with money. As a kid, how did the relationship with money shape you to be the woman that you are now?
The woman I am. Oh my God, that's such a good question. Money is something that everyone interacts with on a daily basis. I think it's very interesting that I very accidentally came into this like finance niche. And even then I'm still like, I don't know it. I'm still figuring it out. I just talk about it online. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just want to talk about it because my parents had such a bad relationship with money and that mindset trickled down to me. I want to kind of break that mold for myself. So I want to create that content for other people that may be in those same similar situations that I was growing up. Yeah, money was always very much a negative in our household. It was associated with stress. It was associated with struggle. And yeah, I mean, not getting into like the details because they don't like me talking about it, but my parents' divorce was also very messy emotionally and financially. So when you're 13 and you're seeing all this and hearing all these things that your parents are saying, you're internalizing it. You don't know. But then when I'm older and suddenly I'm renting, but I don't know what budgeting is. I don't know what it means to not live paycheck to paycheck. Those like things are so hard to unlearn because they're attached to emotion, and like unlearning, those habits are really hard, really hard. It's like anyone going through, I would honestly associate it with mental health. Like going through my mental health journey actually helped me shape my financial journey as well. So that's something I also talk about online, is like my mental health journey. Again, like the more you hear about it, the more you feel seen and like heard, safe, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really identify with that because I grew up also a bit like your parents, but my mother was the kind that anything that it's above $50, it would be expensive. She didn't want to spend. She would tell us not to spend that money, or not to. So we had to make do with a lot of things that we weren't like poor, or we weren't like always needing money, but it was just something that she kind of like force us not to spend money. And when I remember when I first got my first credit card, and she assumed that I was not keeping track of my expenses because I had a credit card now. And what she didn't realize was that she didn't teach me how to do that. I had to learn it myself. I was tracking all my expenses myself, like all the credit card. I had to make sure that I pay the bill at the end of the month, the cycle, Googling, figuring out all that myself. And now she's telling me that I'm responsible with money. So it was a tough situation when I got my credit card. And it was not like I was just going, $10,000, $20,000, right? It was just like daily expenses because I was trying to get miles, I was trying to get cashback, right? But that relationship with money was something that I had to learn myself.
Yeah. How old were you when you got your credit card?
22.
Oh my God. I wish I was you. I was 22 when I got my first one.
Yeah.
I didn't know what anything meant. I was just like, I'll figure it out. Spend.
Before I got it, I knew that I didn't have this lesson that was supposed to be taught to me about budgeting and finance, right? So I had to learn it myself.
That's really
before I applied for my first credit card. So being told that I wasn't responsible for money was
hurtful.
Was hurtful, man.
I can relate to that because I actually yesterday had a conversation with my mom. She's currently migrating back to the UK.
Yeah.
And that comes with a lot of financial like burdens, right? And she was sat there with me and she was like, this is why it's so important to have an emergency fund and build it. But like obviously the way she was expressing it to me was tied to emotion, which is like a theme that I've grown up around. So I was getting stressed out because I know. Like, I've had to learn this because you didn't teach me this, So why you sat here yelling at me that I need to do all this when I already do everything? Anyway, it gets you riled up, right? But it's also like, well, great, because now we know that like your kids won't have to, like, you learn from what your parents didn't teach you so that you can then teach
breaking the cycle.
Yeah, but it's hard. It's active.
Yeah. And just 4 years ago, you had $17 in your bank account.
Well, yeah, that. So I shared recently on an article online my kind of content creator journey, and my business this year has kind of pivoted into like making six figures. Not that it's in profit; it's not a profit of six figures. I've accumulatively made that, and that's the first time. I'd never thought that this would happen to me ever in my life. I didn't even think that making 5 digits a month was anything that would ever happen to me. And now this year, for the first time, that's regular. And that's really freaky. I'm still figuring that out for myself. But yeah, like 4 years ago, before I kind of went into content, I was working just like a salaried job, and I didn't know how to budget, and I was living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm PR, so I contribute CPF, so what you think you're taking home, you're not taking home. I also was renting at the time because we don't really live with our family until we're married. I was, when I was 21, I had to go live by myself or with friends, and it was just really, really hard. And Singapore is already so expensive.
Yeah.
So you feel awful because you're looking at your bank account thinking, why can I not save money? Like, is it me? Yeah, sure. Maybe I didn't need to buy okay, drinking is my vice. I'll go out on a weekend, I'll spend a couple $100s. If I didn't do that, then okay, I would have had a few $100s left in my bank account at the end of the month. But I was 21. I'm going to go drink. Are you kidding? But it's not just you. It's also, the environment you're in. The economy in Singapore is so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we're made to feel like we're not doing enough. But actually, we need to realize that it's hard to live here. Like, you need to really be making a certain level to be comfortable. Everyone's idea of being comfortable is different. For me, being comfortable is you don't worry about money.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, I still worry about money because, again, it's this, like, I've been brought up in this scarcity mindset. I'm still figuring it out. But yeah, it's been a huge learning curve to go from living paycheck to paycheck to having a business, having a team.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm paying people full-time salaries. Hopefully one day, maybe.
Yeah.
But
manifesting.
But just even having paying people for their time and their work is so amazing. I never thought that I would be in this position.
Yeah.
It's so cool. But I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah. And I like I say, I totally relate with that.
Yeah.
And that was why also one of the primary reasons why I wanted to get you on here, right?
Slay.
Because, and I think in my message, in my DM, I slammed your DM.
You did.
In your DM, I was telling you, because I saw how you are talking about building a business, how you talking about the clients, the late invoices and all that, right? And I experienced that myself as someone who's been doing it for almost a year. A year for you now? 2 years?
My business is 2 years old.
Yeah, 2 years. So I'm a little behind, but I started that process and exactly what you're talking about, in terms of the financial part, you're now the CEO, you are the chief marketing officer, you
You're
are the chief
everything.
financial officer. At the end of every month, I'm in my Notion template, looking at all my expenses and revenue, right? And it's not easy because, like you say, I also have that scarcity of money, right? And it's always do I want to spend this? Then I have to think of my daughter's therapy, or how do I invest in myself so that I can be better for my clients? Yeah, it's always a challenge.
Yeah, of course. And it's going to change every year too. Likewise, how much do I want to, I don't pay myself a salary, you know what I mean? The money my business makes goes back into the business somehow. Which is great because my business pays for my rent, but I am the business, so I'm paying my rent, But you're right. It's really hard to, again, learn all these new things that no one's taught you.
Yeah.
And that's why I talk about it online. And I want to share about my journey building my business too, because it's not one size fits all what. Everyone has different, we were just talking earlier before we were recording about how we approach content. And
yes.
You schedule it, you batch film, you put it out. I film, edit, upload same day. Our approaches to our businesses and our content is different. So, we're all learning at our own pace and doing it in our own way that works for us. I love Notion. Love a Notion template too.
Yeah.
Very good.
That's a sign to sponsor us, Notion. No, I actually met the Notion general manager. I was just gushing to him, I was showing him my dashboard and everything, and it was amazing.
I have a friend who works at Notion, and she loves it there. She says the work environment's very fun.
Yeah. Unique in a sense. I mean, both of us are unique in a sense that we are not only creators, but we're also founders of our own business, right? But there are a lot of creators out there that only rely on brand partnerships.
Yeah.
Or, this one-off, here's the makeup product, buy it, and that's it.
Yeah.
What's your advice to creators in that sense?
I think, I'm coming from, let me provide a little bit of context. So Angmor Media was set up from a very selfish place. I I wanted to meet other creators outside of work. So Angmore Media's origins was to connect creators to each other. At the same time, I was already sharing online very, very, very candidly, name dropping brands, people, all of this stuff that very easily could have had me sued, sharing about negative experiences I was having as a content creator.
Yeah.
So I was a content creator first and foremost. People felt so incredibly validated that it kind of shifted my mindset about the company more. You know, you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what a bad deal is. You don't know what being lowballed means. You don't know what a media kit is. You don't know how to set your rates. You don't know what industry standards are. You don't know what you don't know. Who teaches you? Nobody taught me. I learned through the 3 years that I was making content for fun the hard way. You know, okay, $400 a video. All right, I'll accept $400 for the next year. And then one day someone turns around and says $800. And you're like, oh, okay, $800 it is. And then one day you decide for yourself, I'm just going to try and ask for $1,000. They'll say no. They say yes without blinking an eye. Wait. So the next time you ask for more and more and more. And suddenly I realized that I was letting other people define my worth as a creator. And I was so mad at myself because I was like, why didn't I think about this sooner? Where, you know, I should have done more research or learned these negotiation skills or understood the industry more, where I knew the value of the content that I was creating and the value of my community. So I set up Angmore Media then, not only to connect creators to each other, but to connect creators to me, because I come from a theater background and my education is very much revolved around understanding how to brand yourself, how to market yourself, and your value. Understanding contract laws as a freelancer, you know, understanding what intellectual property is, all of these terms that the everyday person that's posting online for fun isn't going to know. So I kind of set up Angmore Media then as like this bridge to, you know, instead of creators having to learn the hard way, just let me tell you. So for a long time, you know, we were having these conversations on my Instagram about like, you know, it's just in my DMs, like me and creators like conversing about stuff like this. And then suddenly people were coming to me asking for like actual advice. Here's this email I got. What do I say? Or can you look at this contract for me? Like, what does this term mean? And then I started to realize that actually there's this huge kind of like opportunity here where nobody else in Singapore is really talking about what it means to become a content creator and build that business and that brand. So I kind of jumped in on that and I started setting up coaching calls. So I'll do one-to-one calls with anybody about anything you need. I'm very transparent about what I can tell you. So, you know, I do have specific calls that are related around negotiating skills, your media kit and like rates. So we'll talk about your niche and your industry and like, you know, take into account your metrics. And then I'll give you my opinion. You don't have to take it. But in doing that and in setting that up, people will change their rates, change their content direction, and they see success. So obviously something's working here. So that's something, I mean, I've only been doing this for the past year in a coaching capacity. Yeah. Before it was all very casual. So that's something I've been focusing on in the past year. And it's been so fun. It's been so fun. And it makes me, in a selfish way, feel really good because it's like, you can see the action and the effect. And, you know, maybe I've suggested to somebody that they should raise their rates because of XYZ, and they do it and they come back to me and they say, I just closed my first 4-figure deal because of what you told me. That makes you feel really good. But nobody told me that when I was starting my content journey. So it feels good to know that I'm in some way giving back to our content creators in Singapore. And Singapore is such a great market to be a content creator because the barrier to entry is so much lower. Yeah. Like I got my first brand deal when I think I had 30,000 followers on TikTok, which is a lot still, but I'm working with creators now that have 10,000 followers and are able to make money from content. You know what I mean? So getting in the industry is very easy, but growing is where you need to have those skills. So whether, people need to really think about whether they want to do it for fun, just for like a bit of extra cash at the end of the month, or if you really want to lean into it.
Yeah.
You leaned into it this past year and you've seen great success.
Yeah.
And like you share about that online too. And that's what I love. And now I'm seeing this trend of people sharing their monthly income, or people creating community events for creators, to talk about skills, whether it's to do with editing or whether it's to do with how to spot a bad brand deal. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
This is what we need. Like the more we talk about it, you can only learn.
Yeah.
Like what negative thing is there? Sorry, I'm like on a spiel now.
No,
I love
that's
talking about this
perfect.
stuff.
Because I feel like it's what Gary Vee said, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not about how many followers you have now because of all the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like anybody with 10 followers can go viral if they post a very good piece of content.
Yeah.
And like you say, like I lean into that because when I started this, I had a chance to, this is the brand I like. I want to work with this brand.
Yeah.
Or I become a founder, creator. Because one of the things for me was the switch in mentality. Like, do I want to always be a freelancer where I pitch to this brand, to this company? Or do I build my own personal brand and get people to come in?
Yeah.
So I chose it because I read Gary Vee's book on attention economy. And for the first time, I just tried everything that he said.
I love it.
He just tried. The book is outside, by the way, at Poster.
I'm taking it. I'm stealing it.
Yeah, you should.
Sorry, Potster.
You haven't read it? No. You should. So it's just so good because it's exactly what you talk about, because it's about building a business rather than just trying to be an influencer. And I've been seeing on my feed recently, like people are saying the influencer era is dead. And it's now about whatever we're talking about, like being a creator, business, creating community events and all that.
Yeah, the founder, creator, and like there's this now trend of like, C-suite professionals or CEOs now being on social media because people want to see the business side maybe a little bit more. I'm also interested in that content, so I'm contributing to that also. I was just going to say then there's this great book by Daisy Morris called Community is Your Currency. And it talks about the same stuff where it's like you don't need to have, it's not about how many followers. It's about like the value you bring across and what that means to the people watching your content. It's so funny. Somebody sent me a DM the other day or had replied to a comment on a video of mine, and they were like, why should, brands be paying thousands and thousands of dollars to influencers when you can't even guarantee how many views that video gets? Sure. If you're only using that video as like the success for the campaign, then that's a bad campaign. Sorry. Like that shouldn't be the only metric you're looking at. You could have, actually, I'll use a real example that I have for you, okay? I won't name the clients, but okay, client A, client B. Brand A, brand B. Brand A wanted my biggest package, wanted to boost my video, wanted to do all this, all that, but they wanted creative control. So they told me what to say, what to do, all that. I tried to fight. I always try to fight. Sometimes I didn't fight. I was like, you know what? You're paying me a lot of money. I'll take the money, whatever. That video got like, after they boosted it, 500,000 views, okay? But what they were trying to convert didn't convert. Brand B, just sit down and say whatever you want, just feature our product. Okay, sure. People still come up to me on the street today. This video was 3 years ago. I love that video you did. It got 6,000 views, by the way. Forgot to mention that video. You can't quantify like the views actually converting anything or meaning anything. Yeah. What if somebody watches your video, this branded video that you did that you think flopped because it got 5,000 views, and they were inspired, they bought the product, they made a video on the product, not being sponsored, and that video gets 1 million views, right? That's still part of, you contributed to that. I can't remember where I was going with this. What was the question? How did we start? I guess at the end of the day, it's not about, it's not really about the numbers.
The main thing is vanity metrics, right? Like whether the views matter or whether it's being able to understand the impact you bring. Yeah. So I don't guarantee views unless I have full creative control, because I've been doing this for 3-4 years now. I'm able to take that data and understand
where my content performs best. And me personally, my content performs best if I'm able to have full control over what I say,
Yeah.
how it's edited, how it's captioned, all that kind of stuff. And then I'm able to guarantee you some views. But the second a brand wants to, and sure, like you can obviously have, input, but it's a collaboration. It's not like you're not working with an actor. You're not making a commercial. You're collaborating. You have to like meet somewhere that shows both of the strengths of both people. And that's what will make a great successful campaign. So it's just interesting to like see why people, like a lot of people still see like the number being the most important thing.
Yeah.
Or like the worth. Yeah, very fascinating.
I see the same challenge as well. But I mean, I work in a different way from you because I work with a lot of B2B brands,
Yeah.
and also one-on-one coaching for personal brands, right? And a lot of people, like I was on this I did this coaching call with this client, and less than 2 weeks later, she was like, "Oh, why is my likes not increasing? Why is my impressions not increasing?" And I always tell them, it takes at least 6 months.
It does.
It takes at least 6 months to gain traction, and you can't expect results overnight.
No.
So it's always that challenge of trying to explain that to them.
You know what I'm going to say, and this may be really controversial, but I think slow growth has more impact than virality. And I'm seeing now so many people sell, you want to go viral? Spend $900 on my course. I can guarantee you 1 million views if you pay me $1,000. Like, okay, then what? Sure, you made this great video, it went really viral, but like, do I know who you are? Am I invested in your story? Am I gonna see that video and like look at what else you post and actually want to like engage with you and follow and stuff? So similar, like when